Hello, welcome to the Black Ponder. I'm Neil Trotter. Let's talk Eastern philosophy, shall we? Today, we're talking about The Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi. And check this out, this edition is translated by Thomas Cleary. Miyamoto Musashi was born during the latter half of the 1500s and lived onward to around the mid-1600s. See, during that time, the Japanese governmental power was cracking down on the samurai way of life. So samurai lost their ability to serve under a master. So a lot of samurai chose a different way of life. The government no longer condoned that way of life, the samurai way of life. So a lot of samurai became artists, a lot of samurai became teachers, a lot of samurai became outlaws, became criminals. Then there were some samurai who just continued the way of life of a samurai and became kind of wanderers. Samurai without masters. They're what's called ronin. And Miyamoto Musashi was one of those. He was a ronin. During his life, Miyamoto Musashi fought a lot of duels. Life or death duels. His first duel was, he was age 13. And he fought around 60 or more duels according to what he says in his text. Although most of that has been proven, right? So, I mean, he's been through a lot of duels, life or death, and won. He's undefeated. His last duel he did when he was 29 years old. He also served under the feudal wars that were happening in Japan during that time. So Miyamoto Musashi, he's dealt with a lot of life or death combat situations and lived to tell about it. He's undefeated. He has a lot of wisdom to impart. He felt this way, so he decided to write down what he learned, his teachings, in the Book of Five Rings. This book, very similar to The Art of War, is very specific to military combat, military arts. However, a lot of people read those two books, this book and The Art of War, and they find ways to apply it to life in general. That could be a little tricky because, like The Art of War, the Book of Five Rings goes into very specific details about combat, right? Particularly, it goes into like the different weapons you're using, swords, short swords, long swords, spears, that type of thing, distances between people, ways to shout at your opponent, ways to approach your opponent. There's a lot of very specific details regarding martial conflict. So I find it becomes a little difficult to apply these kinds of books to just general ways of life. Although you can definitely do it, and a lot of people definitely do it. This book in particular is used a lot in business, in the business world, particularly in Japan. A lot of Japanese businessmen are known to apply the values of this book when they conduct business. And you can definitely do that. I'm not saying you can't. This book is very tiny, just like The Art of War is. But sometimes you'll see these massive texts of these translators that throw in a lot of commentary, because what they try to do is they try to generalize very specific martial art advice to an overall life philosophy. So a lot of translators feel the need to add a lot of supplemental text. But it is true. You can definitely apply the Book of Five Rings to how to approach conflict in life, how to master over that conflict, and how to incorporate the values of this book in your general philosophy. It is possible you can do it. So we're going to do that today. Are you ready? It's going to be a lot of fun, because what I got from this is when I was reading it, the conflict that I felt that you could apply it to is the conflict of the search of truth. The opposition is falsehood. The world is full of falsehood, right? And things that are not true. And it's very difficult to understand the true nature of things just in general. What people really mean, the agendas that people actually have, why people are the way they are, why are they doing the things that they do. It's very difficult to go into the truth of the matter. I find the values that are presented in this book are a great way to fight against a lot of those falsehoods and get toward the truth. So let's go into some quotes that demonstrate this. So in the first part of the book, Miyamoto Musashi equates one way of life as being the life of a carpenter. Check it out. In terms of the way of the carpenter, this involves skillful construction of all sorts of tools, knowing how to use each tool skillfully, drawing up plans correctly by means of the square and the ruler, making a living by diligent practice of the craft. I will illustrate the science of martial arts by likening it to the way of the carpenter. The word for carpenter is written with characters meaning great skill or master plan. Since the science of martial arts involves great skill and master planning, I am writing about it in terms of comparison with carpentry. This quote popped out for me because basically I feel Miyamoto Musashi is saying, take life like a craft. And like a craft, to get better at one, you have to work on it. And you have to work on it constantly, like a carpenter. A carpenter becomes better because he practices his trade, right? And that's kind of life. You become better at life the more you practice actually living life. But you gotta practice it in the right way. That's what Miyamoto breaks down, how to practice it in the right way. Let's continue. Unless you really understand others, you can hardly attain your own self-understanding. Miyamoto talks about how you really do need to understand other people, the perspectives of other people, or where they're coming from to be successful. Check it out. I will continue. As far as paths are concerned, there are Confucians, Buddhists, tea connoisseurs, teachers of etiquette, dancers, and so on. These things do not exist in the way of warriors, but even if they are not your path, if you have wide knowledge of the ways, you encounter them in everything. In any case, as human beings, it is essential for each of us to cultivate and polish our individual path. That's very interesting because what I feel Miyamoto's talking about here is, you got all types of different ways of life. The way I see it, different ideologies. He talks about Confucians, Buddhists. I mean, you can even go so far as Christians, Muslims, religious people, non-religious people, Democrats, Republicans, people who believe in all different types of things, right? And that might not be your way of thinking. That might not be your path. But it's important to understand where all these people are coming from. And it's important to take all those perspectives into consideration to develop your individual path, your own path. Now, your own path might not correlate with those other paths, those other ideologies, but you should still understand them. That's the key to cultivating or working on your own path, your own craft, your own life. Let's keep it rolling. You should not have any special fondness for a particular weapon, or anything else for that matter. Too much is the same as not enough. Without imitating anyone else, you should have as much weaponry as suits you. To entertain likes and dislikes is bad for both commanders and soldiers. Pragmatic thinking is essential. Here he's mentioning biases, I feel, and favorites and preferences, right? I see that as knowledge. You should try and learn as much as you can, right? And don't shun away knowledge that you dislike. Learn about that, take it into consideration. It is essential for those who are physically small to know what it is like to be large, and for those who are physically large to know what it is like to be small. Whether you are physically large or small, it is essential to keep your mind free from subjective biases. Ignorance comes from shunning away knowledge that you might have a personal bias against, like being dismissive, what I'm talking about. Oh, this person over there, I don't really understand him, I don't understand his point of view, I'm not even going to bother even trying to learn about anything that he has to do or she has to do or something like that. You should at least understand where that person is coming from, or that perspective, or that ideology, or whatever, to get a general overall picture. And then with that, you're able to cultivate an individual path that's successful for you. The rhythms of the martial arts are varied. First, know the right rhythms and understand the wrong rhythms, and discern the appropriate rhythms from among great and small and slow and fast rhythms. Know the rhythms of spatial relations, and know the rhythms of reversal. These matters are specialties of martial science. Unless you understand these rhythms of reversal, your martial artistry will not be reliable. The way to win in a battle, according to military science, is to know the rhythms of the specific opponents and use rhythms that your opponents do not expect, producing formless rhythms from rhythms of wisdom. To successfully search for truth, to find truth. That's what I equate winning in battle is to me. The battle of life is fighting through the falsehood to find the truth. How do you do that? How do you win? The advice Miyamoto has is to incorporate all the rhythms of everybody, right? Understand what's a bad rhythm, what's a good rhythm. You know, everybody has different perspectives, different vibes, different points of view. That's what I equate to rhythm. How do people operate? You gotta discern the bad ways of operating from the good ways of operating. Incorporate it all, apply critical thinking toward it, and in that way you can start to filter out all the falsehoods and get toward the truth. You gotta at least take it into consideration all the rhythms first, and then learn which rhythms are the truthful ones and which rhythms are the false ones. You can hardly become a master of martial arts unless you can see the immediate in a broad context. That's very important. To successfully search for truth, you got to be able to find the immediate within the broad context, because in this world, everybody's giving you all these ideas and facts and information and data. You know, it's all in this day and age, we got a lot of information overload, and it's essential to quickly get to the truth of that, filtering out what's not true. That's even more important now with this digital age, right? This information age. So much information is tossed at us, right? We gotta get to the truth. Basically, understand the BS from the stuff that's not BS. That's very important. And that's the only way you can really become a master at searching for truth. Let's keep going. In this way of life in particular, if you misperceive the path even slightly, if you stray from the right way, you fall into evil states. So again, don't be susceptible to the BS, or you can start slipping into the falsehood yourself. What's important is always to look for the truth. The true meaning behind what's being said, the intentions behind something, what something actually is, and discerning your perspective from the reality of the situation, right? But you can also fall into an evil state by searching for truth in not a sincere way. Check this out. The science of martial arts is not just a matter of reading these writings. Taking what is written here personally, do not think you are reading or learning, and do not make up an imitation. Taking the principles as if they were discovered from your own mind, identify with them constantly, and work on them carefully. So it's not enough just to begin to understand truth or search for truth, discover truth, and learn about truth. You have to start applying it into practice, right? You have to start living it. And I find that that's a huge problem in today's world. A lot of people have these ideologies, but they don't really put them into practice, right? If you do believe in something sincerely, what are you actually doing? You know, actually doing, not just like talking about it or reading about it or learning about it. Okay, now with that knowledge in hand, what are you doing to apply that to make your life better and to make the lives of others better? Here's an example. A lot of people I know, and several people that I encounter, they're hardcore into Friedrich Nietzsche, that philosopher. They really like him a lot. One thing Friedrich Nietzsche pushes a lot in his philosophy is this idea of searching for your own truth, your own meaning, despite what society says. He has several names for this. One of them is this Superman or Oberman or something like that. We'll talk about that in another video. You know, I talked about that a little bit in the gay science video that I made, but we'll keep it rolling with other videos with him. But you know, the Oberman, the Superman, right? It's this being that a human should strive for. The ability to create your own truth, to operate by your own standards, and to completely dismiss all of what society has to say, and to start from ground zero with yourself. But how many people who are really into Friedrich Nietzsche actually strive toward becoming the Superman or the Oberman? Not too many people I know. A lot of people say they're into Friedrich Nietzsche, but I ask, what are you actually doing in your life to become the Superman or the Oberman or whatever you want to call it, the German or the English translation of that. What are you actually doing in your life to strive toward that state of being? It's not enough to just talk about it, because I know people all day now talk about Nietzsche. You gotta put it into practice at some point to make it meaningful, to make it useful. As I see society, people make the arts into commercial products. They think of themselves as commodities, and also make implements as items of commerce, distinguishing the superficial and the substantial. I find this attitude has less reality than decorations. The field of martial arts is particularly rife with flamboyant showmanship, with commercial popularization and profiteering on the part of both those who teach the science and those who study it. The result of this must be, as someone said, that amateuristic martial arts are a source of serious wounds. Again, why do you believe in what you believe in? And why are you even searching for truth? There's people who do study philosophy or study different ideologies. I pose a question, why are you doing that? Are you really doing that to become a better person? Are you really doing that to search for truth? Or are you doing that because it's in vogue? Or you're just trying to be a rebel? Or you're just trying to stand out from the crowd just so that you can stand out from the crowd? Again, it's not enough to just read these texts. It's not even enough just to understand them. Understanding what's being said, that's a huge accomplishment. Most people don't get even that far, or they don't even bother to try to put the effort into it to understand what the texts are saying, these philosophical texts I'm getting at. But really, honestly, in my opinion, just understanding what's being said and reading, you're just scratching the surface. Now, what you have to do is, okay, with this knowledge that I have obtained, how could I apply it to myself and practice it in the outside world to not only make myself better, but try to contribute something positive to the world to make it better? This is where actual truth lies. And I feel that's kind of a problem in philosophy, putting philosophy into practice. A lot of people get caught up all day into thought experiments and just going back and forth off debates and the meaning behind what's being said and this and that and the other thing. But we also have to talk about activism. Now that we understand these texts, or we talk about them to understand them, in what ways can we apply them or put them into practice to help each other out? Because if we can't do that, then what's really the point of even understanding them to begin with, right? And that's why I really like this book, The Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi. He promotes a no-nonsense type of philosophy. He's very straightforward and to the point. All these people are doing all these things, and it really doesn't matter unless you can put it into practice, and you gotta take away all the nonsense. But you have to be able to understand where everybody else is coming from first. And from that understanding, from that broad understanding, apply your no-nonsense critical thinking in ways that are practical and straightforward so you can succeed, so you can win in battle. And what I'm saying is the battle is fighting in the search for truth. I'll leave you with this quote. Of course, emptiness does not exist. Knowing of non-existence while knowing of existence is emptiness. Wrongly viewed among people of the world, not understanding anything is itself considered emptiness. This is not real emptiness. It is all delusion. The way that is practiced by warriors is not obscure in the least. Without any confusion in mind, without slacking off at any time, polishing the mind and attention, sharpening the eye that observes and the eye that sees, one should know real emptiness as a state where there is no obscurity, and the clouds of confusion have cleared away. Everybody may think their path is sure and is a good thing, but from the point of view of the straight way of mind, seen in juxtaposition with overall social standards, they turn away from the true way by the personal biases in their minds and the individual warps in their vision. Knowing that mentality, taking straightforwardness as basic, taking the real mind as the way, practicing martial arts in the broadest sense, thinking correctly, clearly, and comprehensively, taking emptiness as the way, you see the way as emptiness. In emptiness, there is good, but no evil. Wisdom exists, logic exists, the way exists. Mind is empty. In this way, emptiness is the ability to think critically without bias, considering the truth behind all perspectives, while forfeiting their falsehoods. I encourage you, read the Book of Five Rigs and take Miyamoto Musashi's no-nonsense approach towards searching for meaning. I'll link a documentary down below that goes into more detail about Miyamoto Musashi's life. You can check that out if you want. Well, you've been looking at The Black Ponder. I'm Neil Trotter. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time for more philosophical thought.